What if the most destructive creature in Greek mythology met the most unstoppable guardian? Not as enemies, but as allies. Imagine a world where fire rains from the sky, where escape is impossible, and where every path you take leads you straight into the jaws of something that cannot be killed. This isn't just another myth. This is the nightmare scenario where Chimera and Cerberus join forces. And today, we're going to explore exactly what would happen if they did. Before we imagine the chaos, we need to understand the monsters themselves. Let's start with the one that brings pure destruction, the Chimera. The Chimera isn't just a creature, it's a walking contradiction of nature. It has the body of a lion, a goat's head rising from its back, and a serpent for a tail. But what truly makes it terrifying isn't how it looks, it's what it does. The Chimera breathes fire. Not just small bursts, but flames powerful enough to burn entire landscapes. In ancient stories, villages didn't just fear the Chimera, they abandoned their homes because of it. Fields turned to ash, animals fled, nothing survived where it roamed. And here's what makes it even more dangerous. It doesn't think like a human. It doesn't plan like a general. It acts on instinct. Pure aggression, pure chaos. There's no reasoning with it, no negotiating. If it sees movement, it attacks. If it senses life, it destroys it. And yet, despite all this power, the Chimera had one weakness. It could be killed. A hero once managed to defeat it, proving that no matter how destructive it wasn't unstoppable. But what happens when destruction like this is protected by something that is almost impossible to stop? Now, let's step into the darkness. Deep beneath the world of the living lies the underworld, a place where souls go, but never return. And standing at its gates is something far more terrifying than death itself. Cerberus, a massive three-headed hound, each head watching, each head thinking, each head ready to attack. But Cerberus isn't just a monster. It has a purpose. It guards the entrance to the underworld. Nothing gets in, and more importantly, nothing gets out. Think about that for a moment. Every lost soul, every trapped spirit, every being that has ever tried to escape death has faced Cerberus, and none have succeeded. Not because Cerberus is the most aggressive creature, but because it is the most relentless. You can't trick it easily, you can't overpower it easily, and you definitely can't outrun it. It doesn't get tired, it doesn't hesitate, and unlike the Chimera, it doesn't act on chaos. It acts with purpose, control, discipline, and something even more dangerous, loyalty to its role. Cerberus doesn't need to destroy everything around it. It just needs to make sure that nothing escapes. And that's what makes it terrifying in a completely different way. Because while the Chimera brings destruction, Cerberus makes sure there is nowhere left to run. Now, imagine this. Not a battle, not a clash, but an alliance. The Chimera no longer alone in its chaos. Cerberus no longer bound only to the gates of the underworld. For the first time, destruction has direction, and control has power behind it. Think about how these two creatures would operate together. The Chimera attacks from a distance, unleashing fire, panic, and chaos. People run, they scatter, they try to escape, and that's when Cerberus steps in, blocking paths, cornering survivors, cutting off every possible exit. You don't just face destruction anymore. You're trapped inside it. This is what makes their combination so dangerous. On their own, they are powerful, but together, they become a system, a perfect, unstoppable system. Attack, trap, destroy, over and over again. No mistakes, no weaknesses, just pure, efficient chaos. Now, scale this up. A single village wouldn't stand a chance. But what about entire cities? Imagine fire spreading across buildings, streets filled with panic, people running in every direction, only to realize there is no way out. Armies would try to fight back. But what do you do against a creature that burns everything and another that cannot be killed? Weapons would fail, strategies would collapse, and slowly the world would begin to understand something terrifying. This isn't a battle they can win. At first, it would feel like a disaster. A massive, unstoppable disaster. Cities falling, people disappearing, entire regions turning into silent, burned wastelands. But very quickly, this wouldn't feel like a disaster anymore. It would feel like the end. Because disasters can be survived. This would be something else entirely. With Chimera spreading fire across the land and Cerberus making escape impossible, humanity wouldn't just be losing, it would be contained, trapped in a world that is slowly closing in on itself. Trade would stop, communication would break, civilizations would isolate themselves, trying to survive just one more day. But isolation wouldn't save them, because this isn't an enemy you can hide from. This is a force that hunts and a force that blocks. Together, they erase every option. And for the first time in history, humanity would realize something terrifying. There is no strategy left. To understand why this scenario is so dangerous, you have to look deeper than just power. It's not just about strength. It's about balance. Most powerful forces fail because they have a weakness. Too aggressive, and they lose control. Too defensive, and they lack impact. But here, that balance is perfect. The Chimera doesn't need to think, because Cerberus controls the outcome. Cerberus doesn't need to destroy, because the Chimera does it for him. One creates chaos, the other organizes it. One spreads fear, the other traps it. And that's what makes them unstoppable. Because you're not fighting two monsters anymore. You're fighting a system. A system where every move you make leads exactly where they want you to go. But in Greek mythology, when the balance of the world is broken, something always responds. The gods. High above the chaos, watching as the world begins to collapse, are beings far more powerful than any monster. And one of them would not stay silent. Zeus. The ruler of the skies, the wielder of lightning, the one who has defeated monsters far greater than most can imagine. For Zeus, this isn't just a threat to humanity. This is a threat to order itself. And then there is another. Watching from the depths of the underworld. Hades. The master of the dead, and more importantly, the master of Cerberus. Because no matter how powerful Cerberus is, it is not free. It belongs to the underworld. And if Hades chooses to act, the balance between these two monsters could shatter. But here's the question. Would they act in time? Imagine the moment. The sky darkens, thunder cracks across the horizon, and for the first time, the Chimera stops. Not out of fear, but because something greater has entered the battlefield. A bolt of lightning tears through the sky, striking the ground with unimaginable force. Zeus has arrived. At the same time, the ground beneath begins to shift. A presence rises from the depths, calm, controlled, absolute. Hades. Now the unstoppable duo faces something they've never faced before. Authority. The Chimera lashes out, fire erupting into the sky, but lightning answers it. Cerberus stands firm, its three heads roaring in defiance. But something changes. A command is given, not spoken loudly, but felt. And slowly, Cerberus begins to hesitate, because no matter how powerful it is, it cannot disobey its master forever. And in that moment of hesitation, the balance breaks. The system fails. And just like that, what once seemed unstoppable begins to fall apart. Because even the most powerful combinations have one weakness: control. Mythology was never just about monsters. It was about ideas. The Chimera represents chaos, uncontrolled destruction, raw, untamed power. Cerberus represents control, order, limits. And when chaos and control work together without any higher balance, they don't protect the world, they destroy it. That's why the gods exist in these stories, not just as powerful beings, but as a reminder that no matter how strong something becomes, there must always be something above it to keep it in check. Because without limits, power doesn't save the world, it ends it. If you enjoyed this journey into mythology and want to explore more what-if scenarios like this, make sure to subscribe, because the next story might be even darker.